We've all been well acquainted with the prime evils, the lesser evils, and how powerful they truly are. But with the introduction of additional demons like Lilith in Diablo 4, where exactly do the demons that are not part of the evils exactly stand in the power hierarchy? In this video, we're going to dive into some of the most significant demons in Diablo's lore and rank them in terms of their power, specifically when it comes to terrorizing Sanctuary. Let's jump right in. At number 13, we have the Butcher.
Fresh meat.
The Butcher first made his appearance in Diablo 1 and absolutely decimated the denizens of the original Tristram. The Butcher demon is actually an amalgamation of various demon body parts stitched together like a Frankenstein straight from hell. Being extremely sadistic, these Butcher demons love nothing more than to carve up as many victims as possible. Now, the particular Butcher demon from Diablo 1 is resurrected again, and we see him in Diablo 3 as well as in Diablo 4, where he roams around and stalks players in the various dungeons within. In terms of power, both Kharazim and Vala, who are the canonical monk and demon hunter from Diablo 3, note that the Butcher is significantly strong, and Vala specifically mentioning that the Butcher is one of the most powerful demons she's ever encountered. Hence his placement at number 13 on the most powerful list. Now, honorable mentions at this ranking with other demons that are similar in strength to the Butcher. You have the Smith in Diablo 2 and used a heraldic mallet to craft weapons for the demons. He served under Auriel, as did the original Butcher. Another demon that would be an honorable mention for rank 13 is also Hephaestus, who, similar in build to the Butcher and the Smith, appears in Act 4 of Diablo 2, being in charge of the Hellforge. Next up, at number 12 of the most powerful demons in Diablo, we have Rakanoth, the Lord of Despair. The one and only time we meet Rakanoth is in Act 4 of Diablo 3, where Rakanoth is holding the Archangel of Hope, Auriel, captive in the Library of Fate. Now, Rakanoth, being the Lord of Despair, actually watched over the Plains of Despair, which is his domain in Hell, that we encountered Iswal at back in Diablo 2. And this is significant because Rakanoth was Iswal's warden, keeping watch over him after Mephisto corrupted the angel. Although Iswal is technically an angel, I will place him as an honorable mention for rank 12 as well, because in his corrupted form, he did delve a lot of secrets to the prime evils as to how soulstones work, as well as the landscape of the high heavens, in which in Diablo 4, he actually helped him carve the way to reaching the Silver Spire. Now on to rank 11, we have the first of the evils, and that is the lesser evil Duriel, the Lord of Pain. Duriel, similar to the Butcher in ideology, cares only about the pain of his victims. Although a powerful demon, in terms of strategy, he hasn't performed any notable feats in terms of his influence on Sanctuary beyond his appearances in Diablo 2, where he came to protect Baal's tomb, where Tyrael was trapped, and then in Diablo 4, where he just more or less randomly appears without any explanation whatsoever, serving underneath Lilith. Moving on to number 10, we have Andariel. Andariel had a much larger impact on Sanctuary than her twin brother did. For in Diablo 2, she managed to completely push out the rogues from the Sister of the Sightless Eye outside of the Eastgate Monastery, where they're now living in tents in the rogue encampment outside of the Stony Fields. Now, we know, playing them in Diablo 1 and Diablo 4, that the rogues of the Sisters of the Sightless Eye are no joke to be reckoned with. Andariel was even able to get rid of Moirena, who was the canonical rogue that fought Diablo in Diablo 1, making her succumb to her anguish from the horrors she witnessed in the Cathedral of Tristram. And after Moirena perished, Andariel resurrected her and corrupted many of the rogues as a result to fight by her side. Beyond Diablo 2, Andariel does appear again in Diablo 4, causing severe anguish to Thaisa, the witch from Hawazar that Elias forcibly used as a vessel to bring about Andariel into Sanctuary. She doesn't have much of an impact in terms of the chaos she causes in Diablo 4, which is why she's listed as number 10 on this list. An honorable mention here will be Astaroth. He guards the Cathedral of Hatred in Hell, which is Mephisto's palace, and charts a course across the lava moats, granting demons access to and from. In Sanctuary, he managed to ravage the various towns and villages in Saragar before being stopped by multitudes of druids, including the Herodric mage and druid Donin, who we meet in Diablo 4. And due to his power and threat, he was one of the only demons outside of the prime evils that was trapped in a soulstone, which was buried under a keep in Saragar that Donin decided to reside in to forever guard his soulstone. Of course, in Diablo 4, he does become resurrected to serve under Lilith and grants her access in the burning hells to Mephisto's cathedral, which frankly resulted in the story beats of Mephisto returning to Sanctuary. Now, moving on to number 9, we have Lucian. So Lucian, he was not actually seen in the games, but he is actually the brother of Lilith and is known as the Prince of Hatred. So being the son of Mephisto back during the Sin War, in those books, Lucian took on the image of the Pope for the original Triune Church called the Primus. Now, thanks to Lilith's involvement in the Sin War, Lucian got found out as a demon instead of a holy figure, and upon confronting the awakened Nephilim called the itherael that Lilith directly awoken, Lucian got willed out of existence by Odyssean, the most powerful of the bunch. Now, although Lucian is not in the games, in Diablo 4, we do get a unique helm that's actually his crown with his image. And in the description, it says that some legends name him banished while others dread his return. So is it possible that Lucian will make an appearance in the future of the Diablo games? This description makes it seem like it could be possible. Now, honorable mentions here are the other two demons in disguise that were part of the original Triune. One would be Astrogoth the Spider, who, although was not in the games, he was in 4 different novels in Diablo, which are the 3 Sin War books, as well as the Moon of the Spider standalone story. Being a minion of Diablo, he reported everything in Sanctuary that was happening during the Sin War to his master, who was then building an army to invade Sanctuary. And another honorable mention in this category is another demon who represented Baal in the Triune, and that was Gulag. So Gulag was not a very intelligent demon, but he was significant in size and actually blended into the walls and the earth around him, which made him a significant adversary as he didn't have a direct body to get rid of. Moving on to number 8, we have the one and only Lilith, Mother of Sanctuary. Lilith arguably caused a lot more devastation back during the Sin War than she did in the events of Diablo 4, because back then, she returns to Sanctuary, disguises herself as a beautiful woman, seduces the farmer Odyssean, awakens him as a Nephilim, and raises a Nephilim army to topple not only the Triune, but also Inarius and his Cathedral of Light. Her disruption of these affairs caused both the high heavens and the burning hells to do a full invasion of Sanctuary, almost erasing it from existence. And then in Diablo 4, of course, we see her going around Sanctuary, gaining access to hell, and wreaking havoc everywhere she goes. Next up, landing at number 7, is Skarn, the Lord of Damnation. In the games, we see Skarn emerge in Diablo Immortal, taking full advantage of the power vacuum left behind when the Prime Evils were defeated in Diablo 2. So Skarn, prior to these events, was once Diablo's most powerful lieutenant, and he flourished in hell during the Dark Exile when the prime evils were sent to Sanctuary. Skarn considered himself quite the visionary, second only to the prime evils themselves. And this is clearly seen in Diablo Immortal, where he takes advantage of the corrupted world shards by sending his minions to collect them and deliver them to his realm of damnation. Although they do not succeed, we do get to go into Skarn's realm of damnation and confront him in Diablo Immortal. And here, not only was he imprisoning multiple powerful angels and corrupting them to join his side, but he also kept captive the soul and the body of Diablo himself so that he could not return. So beyond winning over and causing chaos in Sanctuary during this time, including the resurrection of the Blood Countess, Skarn rightly takes his place as being one of the more devious demons in the Burning Hells. Moving on to number 6, we have Belial, the Lord of Lies. Belial was incredibly dangerous because he managed to take the form of one of the most powerful leaders in Sanctuary during the times of Diablo 3, taking over the body of Emperor Hakan II of Chaldeum. And during this time, he completely replaced the Chaldean army by pushing out the Iron Wolves from the palace proper and replacing them with his own minions as the Royal Guard. Beyond this, he employed and manipulated Bagda, one of the members of the Coven, which is an extension of the Triune, into creating many devious acts in his honor, which includes the resurrection of the Butcher and the slaughter of Deckard Cain. Before being defeated by the Nephilim, he wreaked absolute havoc on Chaldeum, and ever since, the city never recovered. Beyond the games, Belial and Azmodan were the two evils that came up with the idea and executed the exile of the prime evils from hell after the events of the Sin War. Unfortunately, instead of ruling the hells split between them two, those two quarreled and ended up warring against each other, so they decided to just do their own thing in Sanctuary. Next up at number 5 is Azmodan, the Lord of Sin. Now, Azmodan was clever, like Belial, in helping exile the prime evils, but where he goes a point above is that he becomes very aware of the Black Soulstone and all of the evils trapped within, knowing that he could use it to become the prime evil himself, in which he mentions to Leah in a dream sequence. Not only this, but he manages to raise a massive army at Ariat Summit, and if it wasn't for the interference of the Nephilim and Tyrael, I truly believe he would have been quite successful in taking over Sanctuary, for he had the most significant amount of forces on Sanctuary at one time, only rivaled by Baal in Diablo 2. Moving on to number 4, we have the first of the prime evils, and that is Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred. We've all become quite acquainted with him in Diablo 4. Mephisto, the Lord of Hatred, is known to be the most intelligent of the prime evils, and in fact, he loved manipulating and toying with his brothers, constantly pitching them against each other in the Burning Hell. Now, after the Dark Exile and Mephisto's imprisonment, the Herodrome gave his soul stone to the Zakarum monks, which were stationed at the time in the capital of Kurast, where they buried him under a magnificent temple city called the Travancore. Now, Mephisto, thanks to Izual teaching the prime evils of how the soulstones work, was able to corrupt the Zakarum leaders around where his soulstone was stationed to come and serve by his side. And this include the High Council, which turned into the Fell Council, and then informing them to, 1, kill the existing leader, the Hagen of the Zakarum Church, who was Kaleem, which, if that name sounds familiar, it's because we collect his body parts in Diablo 2 Act 3 to destroy the compelling orb and gain access to Mephisto's stirrance of hatred. Set up a puppet, Sancticore, who became his vessel, allowing him to re-emerge in Sanctuary. We get to delve into Sancticore's tomb in Diablo 4 and the immense hatred that consumes it. By the way, regarding Sancticore's tomb, here's a fun fact. The canonical paladin from Diablo 2 named Karthus actually took Sancticore's body to that tomb and laid an eternal vigil with 3 other paladins to make sure that the hatred stays in place. Now, Mephisto, with his lies and manipulation, was actually a mentor of Belial, the Lord of Lies himself. Yes, Mephisto is actually a better manipulator and liar than the Lord of Lies, Belial. And you can clearly see this in Diablo 4, where he manipulates the Wanderer and Tyrael to take on his Soul Stone instead of helping Lilith and allowing her to absorb his essence. Of course, we see his manipulations play out in Vessel of Hatred, allowing him to acquire the ultimate vessel, which is Akarat's body, empowered from its presence in the spirit world. Mephisto and his children, particularly Lucian, loved taking the guise of religious figures as their vessels to corrupt humanity without alerting them to their manipulation, as well as keeping themselves hidden from the high heavens. So it'll be interesting to see what plays out next for Mephisto in Diablo 4. Next, at number 3 of the most powerful demons in Diablo, we have Baal, the Lord of Destruction. Baal might not be as manipulative and as devious as Mephisto is, but he sure is the most chaotic of the 3. In Diablo 2, not only does he come back with an army to wipe out and conquer as much of Sanctuary as possible, particularly the barbarian city of Sescheron and their various settlements on Mount Ariat, but he goes all the way wanting to corrupt the Soul Stone, which would arguably make him the most powerful demon and creature in all existence. Also, he was the only one of the prime evils during the Dark Exile who managed to almost destroy the Soul Stone that the Haradrim were trying to keep him captive in, which resulted in him needing Tal Rasha to sacrifice his heart and body to forever entrap Baal, who of course got released by the Dark Wanderer in Diablo 2. Now, moving on to number 2, we have Diablo, the Lord of Terror. In terms of Sanctuary, Diablo was the first to escape his Soul Stone and find a vessel on Sanctuary, taking on Leoric's son, Prince Albric, as his form, and then summoning a realm of hell underneath the Tristram Cathedral. And although he was defeated when his vessel's brother, Aiden, tried to contain Diablo in himself, Diablo was clearly the puppet master, turned him into the Dark Wanderer, slept with Adria, which ended up birthing Leah, and then freed both Mephisto and Baal to set in motion the destruction of the World Stone. Then, of course, in Diablo 3, we see that Diablo worked closely with his servant Adria to set up the motions of bringing back Zoltan Kuhl, the Black Soul Stone, absorbing all of the other Lord of Hell into that Black Soul Stone, and then using Leah, his own daughter, who had a large affinity to the demonic powers laying in humanity, since they're half angel and half demon, and using her to become that prime evil. Diablo, as the prime evil, was the only creature able to break through the diamond gates of heaven and almost destroy the crystal ark, ending the high heavens and the eternal conflict forever. Of course, our overpowered Nephilim in Diablo 3 managed to take him out, but I'm sure we'll see him again eventually in Diablo 4. Now, sitting at the peak at number 1 is the original prime evil himself, Tathamet, the seven-headed dragon. Tathamet was a cosmic being only rivaled by Anu, who held all the virtues of good, while Tathamet held all of the evil, corruption, and negativity that Anu shrugged off. Now, Tathamet landed a lethal blow on Anu, just as Anu killed Tathamet in return. And Tathamet's burning corpse fell to the darkest, most reaches of the cosmos and turned into the burning hells. with demons bubbling off its surface like maggots on a corpse. If Tathamet ever gets resurrected in his cosmic form, he will be the most powerful by far of all the evils and all the demons of the Burning Hells. Although he hasn't made an appearance and as far as we know is permanently dead, it would be very interesting if he does come back in some way, shape, or form. That's it for this video, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. And if I missed any particular demons that were worth noting, feel free to add it in the comments below. If you enjoyed Diablo lore, please consider subscribing and leaving a like to help out the channel. And if you enjoy watching streams, I do stream during the week, so come on by, ask lore questions, and let's hang out. Thank you all for watching. Until next time.